Ao vivo?
Bom dia, gente. Boa tarde, boa noite para quem estiver assistindo de outros lugares do mundo. Eu sou a Alana Trauczynski e a gente vai falar agora em inglês. A gente optou por essa live ser em inglês, porque para não interromper o nosso fluxo aqui para conversar com o Amit Goswami. Estou aqui também com o Murilo Gan e Adriano Piazzi, Fromer Piazzi, que é
Oi,
quem traz o Amit para o Brasil. Estamos nós quatro aqui. Gente. E então a gente vai optar agora pela live ser em inglês. A tradução dela, legendada, vai sair no nosso YouTube a partir de sexta-feira, tá bom? Hello, Amit. How are you? I'm Alana Trauczynski. I was in your workshop 5 years ago, and it was life-changing for me. And I was talking to Adriano the other day. I interviewed him for my podcast, and he was telling me that you're now, what, 84? Is that your age now?
Excuse me?
He was telling me that you're now 84, and all you want to talk about is love. And then
the first part is true. The second part is not quite true. Although I am busy writing a book on love, quantum physics of love, quantum science of love. So, yeah, I mean, in a sort of far out kind of way, it's probably true.
Well, then he told me that he has to kind of like, all you want to talk about is love, but he kind of has to disguise love as many other things in order for people to actually comply, you know? And then I've been following Murilo Gan in some of his talks inside the companies as well, inside like huge corporations and everything. And I heard the same thing from him. He was like, well, in the end, what I talk about is love, but I have to disguise love as many other things in order to talk about it inside the corporations. So right. And at the exact moment, I realized I had to join both of you in a live to talk about love without having to disguise love as anything, you know? That's the main topic. We're going to talk about love without having to call it anything else. And that's our goal today, to just try and create the perfect field for people not to just understand it, but feel it and know exactly, I mean, what creating or accessing this consciousness can do for humankind. So I would like to introduce you, Murilo Gan, a great friend of mine who has been also a very huge inspiration in my life, and one of these people that have been spreading love and talking about it. Murilo.
Welcome. Hi, Amit. Pleased to talk with you. I was subscribed to join your presential workshop this year, but it was postponed, of course. So we will meet personally soon. And as Alana said, I am a creativity professor, and you were a great inspiration. And huge companies in Brazil, they hire me to talk about creativity and innovation. And I start talking about creativity, and my way to get to love always is, I say that in order to make creativity happen, you need courage, because if it's new, there's risk. If there's risk, there's fear. If there's fear, you need courage. And in order to have courage, you have to activate your heart, intelligence, and then comes to love. So they think it's about creativity and innovation, but it always comes to love. So first, I would like to it's difficult to try to define what is love, but how could you try to put in words what is love for you?
Yeah, this is a very, very good question. How does one talk about love? So I think the best place we can start is that the question of love comes up in a relationship. When we relate to somebody, we have many choices. We can be aloof, which means we stay in our ordinary state of consciousness, very constricted. I mean, not everybody's constricted. Okay, Murilo, you are exception. So is Alana, and I am too, and so okay. But generally speaking, when we live life today, especially today, it's so stressful that unless you really know how to not be touched by stress, really, it is very easy to be constricted. And then somebody comes and we have a choice. We can either stay in the constriction or we can warm up to the person. Of course, if the person is somebody that I already love, then we usually warm up, we welcome the person, and that's a very good thing. On the other hand, the challenge of love is that if somebody that I do not know, somebody that is stranger, this is the scourge of humanity. We have always been so suspicious of strangers. Somebody who doesn't look like me, somebody who doesn't talk like me, somebody who is different, language is different, sex is different, and we get suspicious, we get constricted. This is causing the whole bunch of problems that we see around us today. So the need for talking about love, the reason that I'm so concerned about it, the reason I'm writing a book on it, is precisely to say to people that, look, it is so simple and so much more intelligent to open your consciousness to include the other person than stay constricted and suffer. What's the need?
Nice.
Okay.
Well, the first thing I would like people to and myself to understand is actually the difference between romantic love and the kind of love we're talking about here. Do you like, first of all, is love a frequency, symphony, like a technology, or just a state of consciousness? How can we explain love best?
Okay, you want to get into the science of love. I thought we are not going to talk about science so much tonight.
No, just for us to understand love in a like, is it a frequency or a state of consciousness? Most of all,
it is more a state of consciousness, but there is a component of it which is like frequency. I mean, look, love is something that we really do not know a priori, because love comes to us as in what we call intuition. And people describe it saying that object of intuition, so let's call it an archetype. What that means is that it's prior to thinking, prior to feeling, but it can be represented by thinking and feeling. Those are secondary experiences. So we never get to really see the archetype except for feel the archetype, think about the archetype, except for that brief moment, and then we lose it. This is why, I love that song that Joni Mitchell, I don't know if you are familiar with it. I looked at love of both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's love's illusion that I recall. I really don't know love at all. So why do people like this song? Because it resonates with us. We remember only love's illusions. We don't remember the good moments that we have in loving so much. Look at how much sorrow people have in talking about the lost love much more than the love they have found, the love they have celebrated. So, science of love is very important. How we can promote experiencing this archetype, how we can get into not only thinking about love, which is the easiest thing, but also feel love and not make love into a brain thing. Of course, initially it will be, but with a little bit of work, with a nice woman to work with, because women feel much more love in the heart, and every man needs a woman. Let's be honest about it. I certainly could not ever discover love without women in my life, and especially a couple of very wonderful women. Um, so it is very important to recognize why is that so? Why is it that women have such special entry to their heart? Why do men lose it? And today we are we should be all be very delighted. We should celebrate that we have really a scientific understanding of all this.
And as love is connected to intuition, that's why it's so important to have practices of silencing, because you need to silence the thinking and even the feeling to be able to listen intuition, because it's like intuition, it speaks very, very, very slowly and very silencing. So you need the practice of every day, on a daily basis, silencing the mind in order to be able to reach love and to access intuition, right?
Yes, I mean, this is the thing. Murilo, you hit it right on the point. And to be sensitive to intuition, we already have to slow down our think mindset that we have today. We have become so callous in the way that we live, the information technology and everything, social media, that we cannot stay without having to do something, Every moment we have to find something to keep us busy and always thinking. And you are completely right. I mean, how can we approach something like love that way?
And I have a curiosity to know, Amit, what is your personal daily practices to turn in love, and what do you really in fact do? I mean, routines to turn into love.
Well, it is very important to start your day with an inspiration. I can tell you the basic message of what quantum science tells us. The basic message is, look, the mystery of love, apart from the romantic love, which has all kinds of other mysteries, but the ordinarily, I see you and I love you. I do, Murilo. And I do, Alana. You know that. You already attended my workshop. I cannot not love you. But what does that mean? It means that my consciousness is expanded to receive you, to include you. So if you need me in this moment, I'm there to help you. I'm there to available to you. And if you don't need me, I'm here to celebrate with you the moment that we are sharing together. Love is sharing, caring, this kind of thing. And if we could understand just this, okay, we can talk about the complication of romantic love later. I mean, that is also very important because it is the easiest path to understand the archetype. But this ordinary goodness that we can relate with each other, strangers, or casual friends, or people that we work with. Imagine how, I mean, you were talking about corporate love, Murilo, and how much the corporate workplace would be like if everybody interacted always with expanded consciousness. So my day starts with inspiration and expanded consciousness. That I make sure that I have an inspired mindset when I start the day.
So love is more about looking at the other person as yourself, right? And realizing that we're all somehow the same thing in a way.
Yeah. I mean, the point is that we are connected. We always have known that. We become disconnected. That's the thing. Connection can happen if we give up the disconnection, if we don't allow the disconnection. But that requires a certain amount of practice, because we have become so used to this do kind of living and non-inspired kind of living. We just think that entertainment will fill us this vacancy, this hole in the heart where people are most of the time. And this is sad.
Mm-hmm. Well, romantic love, as we experience it, from what I hear, has not much to do with real love, I guess, right? It's more, it has conditions, right? I was telling Murilo that my personal way to get to know love is like my kids. They're the ones I can love unconditionally. They could kill someone, they could do something really bad, and I would still love them. So I would like to understand like love beyond romantic love, in a way that how can we wish for the other person the best, even when it doesn't include me, like how can I just really feel for the other person that whatever is best for that person is what I desire, even if it doesn't include me. This is unconditional love, I would say, right? But we're not used to it. We're taught from the moment we're born that we have to kind of like hide love if the other person doesn't love you back, right? We disconsider the fact that the one who's feeling it is already benefiting from feeling it, right? Whenever you are in a state of love, that is already the benefit itself, even if somehow the other person does not love you back.
Yeah. It's loving you back is never the question, because you have expanded your consciousness, you have reached out, and that's your reward. Look, romantic love is a good entry point, though. I mean, sex is a very good entry point. So we should not belittle sex. In fact, as you know, in my workshops, I always emphasize, look, if you have a sexual partner, go for it. Because sex can be used. And sex starts with molecules in the brain. These molecules give us a sense of happiness. No question about it. You can call them pleasure. I do, to distinguish it from this expansion of consciousness kind of happiness that love also brings us. But this romantic love, whose major component is to have sex, and then this brain molecules come, there are instances of romantic love where we know these are maybe part of mythology, but I have felt it, and some people do feel it, where you have real romantic heartthrob, and the romantic partners do get to that unconditional love, although they also crave for sex, because immune system gets involved, it suspended, new functions open up, and the heart really does change its modality of operation. And so all these things happen. And that kind of romantic love, not just romance. Ordinarily today's culture just means, okay, you have a sexual relationship, we call it romantic. But that's not really, sex is not making love. Sex is the beginning of making love. If we use the sex to get to that non-locality, as it is called, that expanded consciousness, then it becomes love. And so the person, long time ago, I don't know how long the phrase "make love" has been around in the English language. It's a wonderful revelation. Yes, we do make love when sex leaves us, and this often happens after the orgasm. Especially the male orgasm is not, it is euphoric, but the moment after orgasm is not so euphoric. You get a little sort of, it's over, right, Murilo? It's
Yeah.
not much fun. But then, serotonin gets into the brain, and men usually turn over and go to sleep. If we can keep from sleeping and give in to the women's wish, which is that, come, don't turn around. Although you are sleepy, I understand, but cuddle me anyway, just to please me. And if we could hear that and cuddle, then we discover that, my consciousness kind of feels funny. It feels vulnerable. It feels expanded. It feels like I could do anything for this woman. That's what we are looking for. That's the caring. And some men don't like the vulnerability, so they'll never do this. They'll never get into this kind of relationship. But it's just ignorance. You love somebody, you want to be vulnerable. That is the nature of this word care. If you care, that's it. And that's what love is about. So, in this way, sex gives us a fantastic opportunity of discovering the true essence of love. And of course, from the women's part, it's fantastic because women does not even really need that clitoral kind of explosive orgasm. Women have a mechanism; they just have to learn to activate it. There are people sometimes call it G spot, but this G spot is really true. If the two people are not so embarrassed to talk about the mechanism of love, some people are so sensitive. In India, you could not even speak the word penis or vagina. That would be absolutely scandalous. But one can now, and then you learn the techniques of love. And if you learn the technique properly, it's very easy to hit the woman's G spot with your penis. And then both people can enjoy because women really have that. And it's a continuous kind of orgasm. And so women get in touch with this expanded consciousness almost right away. Within.
I was wondering now if when we reach this state of consciousness that is love, is this the same state of consciousness where we can access telepathy? What do you think about telepathy?
Yes, sometimes that happens, Sometimes that happens. In a state of quietness, indeed, I have found that, yes, as if you know. This is why that movie, What Women Want, I don't know if you have seen it. I don't know if it is, I must have. It's very popular. It was very popular in this. What Women Want.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson, is that the name of the actor?
Yes. Uh-huh.
So, what women want, he got telepathic power, and he exactly knew what women want, and therefore he could please a woman in sex just like that because he exactly knew what the woman wants him to move and stuff. They're making a fun of it, but the truth is that if you are having sex, males do not have this power, only women do. So telepathy would not usually happen. But if you be it, if you learn it, you have to learn it. This is this science of this is called tantra in India. If you learn, then you have telepathic connection even while having sex, and it's a very powerful connection. And then you really know exactly what to do. And this is why people practice practices like chorizo, which is prolong the sex act so that this kind of communication, which leads to prolonged ecstasy, can happen.
So to summarize what you're saying that romantic love and sex are like a key to the door of love.
Yes.
As a consciousness.
Well put. Yes. Yes.
Right. Well, once again, I want to bring my daughters, because I look at them and I realize giving love, like feeling love and giving love, is natural for the human being who receive love. But what if you didn't receive love? If you were born in this planet and you didn't get the love from your parents from the get-go, how can you create it within yourself or access it if you didn't have the example, or if you didn't get that sample, like the first love that we're supposed to get when we get here in order to understand it?
No, it's just not as bad, because we all have mother's love. See, our mothers hold us in their belly for 9 months. And we, of course, initially are not human. Initially, we are just sort of trying to be human. We go through stages of not being human because the brain is not there yet. The neocortex is created towards like 16 week maybe. But after 16 weeks, the fetus now can be called to be a human baby. At that moment, the fetus is not separate from the mother, so does not have separate experiences. But the two in potentiality, that's a quantum language, as waves of possibility, have kind of common resonance in terms of mother's thinking and the baby's experience kind of go together, although baby is not having that experience at that moment. But when the baby is born, all these experiences are manifested right at that moment. And so baby has a lot of memory of this mother's love, if, of course, the mother is a loving mother, and most mothers are. They enjoy their pregnancy. It's a very enjoyable affair. Pregnancy. Of course, there is that vomiting part. Sorry, I don't want to underestimate the suffering also that women go through. But why do they go through again and again? Because the happiness is much, much more than the suffering, than the discomfort. Okay, so the baby is born. How long does this non-local connection stay? If the mother and baby develop a proper sensitive relationship, and many mothers do, then non-local relationship can continue for a very long time. So nobody can say that I did not have the experience of caring, I did not have the experience of love. All human beings, except the very, very psychopathic mother, and there are a few, except for those cases, all human beings are enormously fortunate thanks to the women folk and the motherhood.
And I believe that sometimes we see a mother that we understand that it's not a lovely mother based on our way of what is loved, what's love. But even this mother that doesn't seem to be lovely, maybe she thinks that what she does is a way of expressing love. And even we outside judge as, no, this is not love. But if she thinks it's love, is it is love, right? It's difficult to judge the way someone understand what is love and express love. Of course, in ethics, there are some kind of attitudes that we in general don't agree. But even these attitudes that we gender don't agree, they can have an energy of love because that human being thinks that it is. No? Maybe?
We should not judge any person anytime. It's always true that you cannot judge, because judging itself constricts the consciousness, and then there is no chance for you to be empathic with the other person. Non-locality just will not happen if you judge, if you start judging. So judging is a killer of love. Like you mentioned, fear is the killer of love. Judging is the same way. But if we don't judge, and the mother is doing something that is foreign to me, because I have never exposed to that culture, we must be patient. We must recognize, and if we are empathic, then we can have a much more tolerant experience. I mean, here is what, Alana, you wanted in the beginning, that we should talk more about the feeling of love. So judging is thinking. But if we don't judge, then the consciousness expands, and we might be able to feel. That's what empathy is. We might be able to feel the non-locality if the love is there in the mother, because mother's non-locality will influence. So this is why people love to be around a mother with a baby. I mean, we don't see that anymore so much, but mother feeding the baby, it's not kosher anymore. But in the culture that I grew up, mothers would feed their baby all the time. And mothers were precious. You don't look at a mother with lust. Even adult men would not be ashamed, or mothers would not be bashful about opening their breast and feeding their children, because, it's a no-no. I mean, you don't look at a mother with lust in your mind. It just cannot be done. The culture completely forbids it. And most people do not look at that. Instead, they don't judge. Their consciousness is expanding. And in that expansion, you feel mother's love for the baby. Because, mother's breast has that love within it. The act of breastfeeding. And if you are you married, Alana? Do you have children? Then if you have done this.
Children.
So,
I know.
Yeah, good.
I know mother's love, and I know what I feel for my daughters, but not everyone has that, right? Some people are rejected when they're born. Some people are abandoned and stuff like that. So that's what I was asking. Like, how can one person like that survive something like that? And actually create that for herself. Having been abandoned or having suffered such thing when they're born,
Yeah. This is a very tough question. How do we handle abandonment? Even the feeling that you have been abandoned leaves such a trauma in a child. I mean, I am a sufferer myself. My mother was a very loving mother, but when I was about 10, there was huge calamity in the country, riots and all that. So they had to send me away, my parents. And I was so traumatized, I didn't realize that, of course, that 2 years later, when my mother came to visit me, I couldn't recognize her. I did not recognize her. And then I felt so ashamed of it. And then years later, my wife explained to me that, okay, this is what happened. You had a trauma. And then I worked with the trauma, and finally that sense of abandonment that has haunted me, because, I used to feel always that I may be abandoned by the woman I love. And therefore, I tried to create all kinds of ways that they would have to depend on me, so that they would never abandon me in funny kind of ways. All that I could immediately surrender. Okay, this is not necessary. Such a load off my back. I do not need to do things that women absolutely need because I couldn't trust them not to leave me otherwise. From that moment, I learned to love because with that kind of thing, you cannot love because you're also always assuming that the other is not really loving you. They will abandon you unless you prove your virtue to you, prove your need for them. So abandonment is a very, very serious issue, very serious issue for children. And physical abandonment is absolutely the most serious thing, but even mental abandonment, when a child needs something and the mother does not attend to, even that can be a trauma. So we all should really be very aware as parents, never to leave a child with that feeling of abundance. Explain to them properly. Explain to them.
Amit, in my experience, my personal experience, when I turn into love through my practice of silence, meditation, gratitude, forgiveness. So every time I turn more into love, more synchronicities happen. That's what I experience.
Yes.
What's the relation between reaching the state of consciousness of love and synchronicities?
It's a very, very, very good question. And of course, the relationship is precisely what we are talking about. See, when we love, our consciousness expands. And that expansion does not only engulf human beings, but it engulfs even the entire universe. So, in a way, it all depends on the intensity. If we are very sensitive and if we are aware and maintaining that state of non-locality for some time, then of course even synchronicities will happen because the physical universe, although we don't control it by any means, but it just so happens that what appears to be a coincidence, we call it synchronicity, is actually the moment where this consciousness, which is one between me and that physical event, that is precipitating both events simultaneously, an event in my mind and event in the physical universe, which is the definition of synchronicity. So don't think it is not within our capacity to influence the physical world. It is, but you have to surrender to it. It's not something that, oh, I wish this happens immediately. No, nothing like that will ever happen. But things are happening all the time anyway. So if you are open to the universe, consciousness will make sure that there will be coincidences where something happens in the physical which is extremely meaningful to you. Your psyche, your consciousness will change. Your life will change because of it. Happens all the time. And you are a creative man, Murilo, to have that frequently.
I wanted to ask Murilo, what are the things that you do on a daily basis to tune in with love?
I have three basic daily practices. It's wake up, practice of silence, meditation, and after a couple of times doing that, I do gratitude, and I like gratitude when it goes for small stuff. I mean, of course, that big stuff like family, children, of course, there's gratitude. But I like when I remember a glass of cold water that I got it and it was hot. These small things. I feel they are more powerful because when you reach gratitude for small things, you reach infinite possibilities of gratitude. It's infinite, the small ones. And then I do a scanner of pendant forgiveness. Forgiveness that are pendant. I do a scan and I try to, and it's incredible because even a lot of times that have been doing this kind of scan, I still remember another forgiveness from 20 years ago that is pendant, and I try to send love and light to that pendant to try to. It's like a tumor. Man, that's not a good comparison, but and as people that have a tumor do radiation, I try to irradiate love to make that magua. How do you say magua in English, Alana? Magua.
Sorrow.
Sorrow, yeah, sorrow. And then the last stuff is intention. I set an intention for the day, and I use it to have different intentions, but lately I'm repeating the same intention. The intention is to keep the state of consciousness all through the day. So that's the same intention every day now.
Super easy.
Yeah.
But maybe forgiveness is the key that we were looking for in the previous questions. You know, in whenever we talk about like the person who didn't get love, like from the mom or from their father, like maybe forgiving is the key, right, to access it.
Yeah,
And
forgiveness is a very, very good key. Forgiveness is a very good key about all of this. Another key is humility. Very good key, because we have a habit. This is all because of the brain. Brain has this negative emotional brain circuits, and these circuits have many of this negativity built into it. One of this negativity is pride, and anything we accomplish, even love. I love my wife becomes a pride, and then consciousness is constricted again. You it's an amazing thing. You cannot be superior. You cannot be, because if you think of it that way, every time we put those labels on us, I'm superior, I'm better because I can do this, immediately lose it, because you're constricting your consciousness again. You always have to remember those two things: give, receive, forgive, be humble, authentic. There are a few more, but these are the absolutely something that one has to have.
I was just a quote. I once heard a quote from Steve, the guy from Art of Living. I remember. Yeah, and he said that you are not so special as you think, but you will be when you realize you are not.
Letícia Caveira tá aí assistindo, né, Letícia?
Yeah. Ravi Shankar is a very humble person. He wrote the book The Art of Living. Very humble person. He's remarkably humble. He goes like this, and every time you meet him, he'll just go like this. And this is a symbol that people use just to say greetings, but it also signifies that I love you for no reason. This is a very, very good way to stay humble, because I'm bound to you. I am not, love doesn't happen if I am superior, if I'm inferior, if I'm afraid, if I am angry, if I'm any kind of negativity will banish love. So this just guarantees that, look, I am just like you. Please be one with me. Okay.
Amit, and I was talking to Murilo before, like we actually experience love. Besides romantic love, we experience love as other feelings, actually, right? The way we actually experience love in our bodies is more through joy and gratitude, isn't it? Like, are these high frequencies kind of like all of the same, or how do we actually experience love as a feeling in our human body?
That's the part where really it does feel like a bit like a phenomenon we call resonance. Resonance is a very physics kind of phenomenon. Like if I hit a table, it will start vibrating, right? But if my natural vibration and the table's natural vibration is very similar, then there will be resonance between the two. I'm vibrating and table is vibrating in the same frequency, then the table will vibrate more, I will vibrate more. This is a very physical phenomenon. Physics teachers take on these tuning forks and they have the same frequency and they both start vibrating wildly in the presence of the other. But something like that happens when we love. How is that happening? That is happening because as I love, my feelings, they resonate with what we call the archetype of love. And that archetype of love is also resonating with your feeling in your heart. And therefore, there is a kind of resonance between you and me. The way I love, the way I feel the energy, it is a vital energy. It is sort of a frequency. You can describe it with a frequency because it's a wave of potentiality. And it resonates with the archetype, and that resonates with you, your energies, vital energies of love. So there is a indirect resonance between you and me. This is why, these are kind of modern verbiage, like I feel your vibe. You're familiar with that sentence? I feel your vibe. I feel your vibration. Vibe is short for vibration. It's not entirely wrong. I mean, that means that I'm in resonance with you. I'm feeling something. Okay. So all this.
Are you feeling our vibe now, Amit?
Of course.
How can we create an experience for everyone watching that to actually project our vibe to everyone?
Anyone who is listening to us with no judgment, with heart open, okay, don't doubt it. You have to, of course, absolutely will feel this moment, this empathy. This is what empathy is about. This is what kindness is about, loving is about. Ultimately, loving is not about sex. Ultimately, loving is not about even motherly love. Loving is this capacity of keeping my heart expanded, because heart is the easiest place to feel the expansion. Heart expanded in all kinds of situations. Can I do that? No, I'm not there yet. But this is where what we call enlightened. An enlightened person's heart never closes. That's the best.
I was wondering here that maybe the ultimate challenge of love is to watch, like on television, someone saying something that you don't agree, that it's even aggressive to you or to your culture, maybe saying something that with prejudice, and even not agreeing with that human being, you send love to him. Maybe this is the ultimate challenge that everybody here can try to do it. Try to listen to someone that is aggressive to you, to your family, or to your culture, that is being doing some kind of prejudice, and you listen and you say, I don't agree with you. I don't believe in my reality that what you're saying is true, but I love you.
Exactly. That capacity. So the mind never engages. That happens only if we discover the self in the heart, because if the mind engages, mind has its own problem. Rational mind, unless you can keep your mind in the intuitive mind, which is a very, very high state. Some people have that capacity. But the easiest capacity to get the one that I sometimes get, not always, but sometimes, is that if you are in your heart, then all this is touching your mind. But heart takes over. Heart overrules the brain and the mind. And heart allows you to do that loving. And once you get the hang of it, you can do this. So people are criticizing you and people are humiliating you. You are loving because they are doing it because they are being them. That's you take it in that way and your heart remains expanded. It's an amazing feeling when we are able to do that. But everyone, I guarantee, has the capacity of doing that because this is a legitimate self for all of us. Why let it be so controlled by the brain? So the first thing we have to do is to learn to experience these energies, vital energies we call it, in the body. And then we discovered that body has two centers, one at the navel, one at the heart. And women are stronger in the heart center, men are stronger in the navel center. But that is your entry point of feelings in the body, and that is your entry point to love in the quantum way. Because here, non locality is supreme. Anytime we can get into them, it's going to be, chances are that it's going to be non local, except when you are using brain memory to get into them. Then that non locality will not be so permanent because it's coming from the source of memory. But if it is coming from the archetype directly, then the non locality is a very powerful non locality.
Amit,
Well,
do Alana.
no, yeah. I was gonna just invite everyone to question themselves. How can I make love start within me? How can I make love start within me? Because it has to start in each of us. Like the song you used to play all the time, Murilo. Haja mais amor a começar em mim. Amor que eu sempre quero ver a começar em mim.
There's a great song. It's a great Brazilian song called Start With Me. That says, the love I want to see in the world needs to start in me. Because people usually like to complain, oh, there's a lot of non-love in my neighborhood, in my company. How can I be lovely if around me nobody is lovely? So people sometimes try to, no, I can't be lovely because around me there's no love. And this song talks about, do your job, okay? Just focus on your love practices, do your homework very beautifully, and then you tell me what happens.
Yeah, that is a good advice anytime. The science is actually telling us something which is easier to practice, which is that what happens usually, ordinarily, the way we grow up in the human culture that are prevalent right now, men have stronger navel chakra and women have strong heart chakra. So what happens is that if the navel chakra lacks, that's the place where you self-love, love yourself. But if that love is not open, then what happens? You love yourself in a narcissistic way. In fact, that constricts your consciousness even more. So don't think that because men are aware of their navel chakra, they become loving. No. Now, the president of America is a guy named Donald Trump, you probably know. And this guy has feelings in the navel. So he's actually quite aware of his navel chakra. Good credit for him. But he uses entirely in the narcissistic way because his heart is totally closed. What happens with loneliness is that we cannot really love ourselves without loving others, and we cannot really love the other without loving ourselves. It's a circuitous problem. So what do we have to do? We have to learn the chakra that we are weak at. So men have to literally practice the opening of the heart chakra. Women likewise have to practice opening the navel chakra. Here again, if you are so lucky to find a partner, then the two partners can help each other because one is already strong in the navel, the other is already strong in the heart, and they can help each other to make up the weakness and teach each other. So that way, we can contribute greatly in developing what later we call unconditional love. This is a question that you were asking at that time. We were not ready to answer it yet, but now I can tell you how to practice that. This is the first practice. We feel each other up, complementary. That's we already mentioned. Second practice is that now we help each other to strengthen the other chakra. And then if the two chakras are working simultaneously, then both are integrated, the male and female are integrated in the body. The polarity doesn't go away. Polarity comes from the brain. So nobody has to worry that I'll lose attraction of the female. No, nothing like that. But you have become a complete person in your body. That's the prerequisite of opening the heart further. If you are able to do that, then heart becomes so strong that now it can stand up to the brain. This is what I was talking about, where you can say no to the brain because you are in your heart. You can continue loving, whereas other people are criticizing you, other people are even... Look, it is a fact that some people literally would not even object to being killed and continue to love. They're so much into their heart that even in the moment of death, they can maintain this love for the enemy who is killing, literally, taking the life away. Imagine that.
Um,
Go
Amit, I'm very curious about the 60s, and the 70s, all the new era, new age, and hippie, and I was thinking that maybe this kind of topics that we are discussing in this hour, this live could have happened in the 60s. Was this kind of topics that people tell me about the 60s and the 70s and the similarities and the differences with this moment of humankind?
Well, yeah, I mean, in a sense, it would be nice if we did have, no? But we probably, my guess is that, look, the science was not there because we probably were not ready yet. I mean, many people in many countries are not ready yet. Some people in some countries are ready. In Brazil, Brazil is probably one of the most aware countries in this way. Why? Because men never got too much into their head. I mean, do you agree? Brazilian men are still quite emotional. They are not people who grew up in the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant culture. They're so much into their head, they completely are oblivious that there can be higher emotions. Or if they discover their body feelings in the body, they stay in that navel chakra, men. Only because of the women, the culture still sustains itself. Women have some heart, and that's what sustains this culture. This culture is so head-oriented. It's amazing. But, Brazilians, as I said, men are quite emotional. Women, of course, are. And so they will be very fast to become 21st century people who are able to bring love, energies of love into the world and transform it. That's my dream.
And what's your point of view about the use of substances to expand consciousness? At the 60s, it started very use of substances, and nowadays there are sacred plants like ayahuasca, and they are chemical substances. What's your point of view about, in general, the utilization of substances to reach conscious expansions, to reach love?
Actually, this is also a very, very good question, and I certainly have researched it quite a bit. What the science is telling us is that the uh, chemicals, if you use purely chemical like LSD, what you get are certainly altered states of the brain, but you don't get any additional software from it. And see, all these things that we're talking about, love, feelings, even thinking, they are all software. They're not in the molecules. They are in the separate energies, non-physical energies, like mental meaning. That's a non-physical entity. Vital energy. That's a non-physical energy. So this is very, very important to recognize that if you add molecules to the brain, you're adding only to the hardware. You're not adding any software. But if you take ayahuasca, or if you take peyote, or if you take any of these sacred plants that the ancient cultures used, it's totally different, because there you are taking something that is alive. And alive means that it has vital software with it. And those vital software gets into the brain, and that changes not only the hardware, the brain part, the mechanical part, but also the software. And in those softwares, you really can have more expansion. What is happening with an open heart? What's the difference? Because I have been able to open more access to software, new software. This is the new software, nothing but new software. A new software has come where love, that feeling comes even without any sexuality or even without any external material stimulus, right? So if you can add this software with the help of plants, wonderful. Why not? Actually, I have been talking like this for quite some time, as you know. And I was once traveling in that little city where there was this psychic mystic who got kind of jailed. Not so John of God, I'm talking about. He's not so popular now, so we shouldn't talk too much about him. But that's where we were because I wanted to visit him. And there were three of us. They were walking on the street, and the woman called me from a shop, recognized me. So I went in, and she had read my book, and she followed it up and got plants from Amazonia, and she found the plant which actually enhances the feeling of love. And she has put that in a perfume, and she gave us that perfume. And there was indeed a little bit of expansion of consciousness, I thought, by using that perfume. So, indeed, claims of mystical expansion of states that these original cultures make, and it always has to be done in a spiritual setting. This is not entertainment. This is literally expansion of consciousness. And so you have to go through the ritual. And I did at a conference in Manaus. It was such a beautiful experience. After that, I had to go through 2 hours of diarrhea and horrendous stuff. But after that, I remember so distinctly. I lay down on the grass, and the cosmos opened up.
I love the idea of a perfume that expand consciousness. So everybody in the city with this perfume, and a perfume that can expand love. This is a good product.
Adriano actually told us about this, and we're excited to actually bring it to life. You know, this perfume. We're with you on that.
Yes.
We want to help you. Bring this to life. Well, we wanted to end this with like a meditation, Amit. Can we do a meditation for everyone watching and ourselves as well to actually try and tune in together into the frequency of love?
Tuning together with heart energy.
Okay, yes. I just wanted to end as a personal experience, saying that I feel much closer to unconditional love once I worked with my own shadows and was able to love every bit of me, you know, every bit of like everything I see ugly within myself, everything that is not perfect, everything that is not my best, you know, and I do realize I have both sides. And now that I got to love all the darkness and all the bad things within me, it is much easier for me to feel compassion for other people and see the worst of them and actually forgive, you know, and know that that's not who they are, you know. So I just wanted to say that and invite you to go through a meditation with all of us who are still watching.
Okay, very quickly, a meditation. It won't take you more than a few minutes. Please sit comfortably and close your eyes. We'll just do a little bit of visualization. First think of a very loving episode that happened recently. Brain is connected to the heart. So you can use thinking to get to the heart. The heart can be activated, the energy can be activated simply thinking of love, but you have to visualize not only thinking but also the feeling that you had in that episode. So just reenact that episode, visualize the episode, feel the episode, think the episode for a few seconds, going to about a minute, and you will find as I speak, you do it and let that energy of that memory through your intention come and activate your heart. Now you are energized in your heart. And this energy can spread. There's no zero-sum game in love. If you love another, your love does not decrease. The more you love, the more you love. Unending, infinite potentiality, as Murilo said. Infinite potentiality. The more we manifest, the more we get. So you now spread your heart, expand your heart. Imagine that green light is coming out of the heart, and this green light is moving in every direction around you. It's reaching us, reaching your friends, reaching everyone in Brazil, reaching everyone in South America, reaching everyone on Earth, entire planet. See how big you can be? All starts your own heart, all starts in using your thoughts properly, using your memory properly. When we can be so positive, so expanded, just by using our wonderful, happy memories that do happen to every one of us. We can use them to get into states of the heart like this, and then we can share it with the world. Stay in this energy as long as you wish. And when you are done, very slowly open your eyes. Goodbye, everyone. Adriana, I have to talk to you tomorrow, okay?
Ok. Alana, acho que você está sem som.
I'll explain when we talk, okay?
Ok. Bye-bye, Amit.
Murilo, it's been wonderful.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yes. Thank you so much. Can you hear me now, Adriano? Yes?
Now I can, yeah.
Tá me ouvindo?
Estamos te ouvindo. Bye-bye, Amit. Thank you very much. Bye.
Gente,
Nossa,
agora podemos falar português. Bom,
maravilha. Mandaram bem, hein, gente? Pô, foram...
Ai, gente, meu Deus do céu, é uma desgraceira, né? A gente quer, tipo, falar mais rápido, mas eu, nossa, tô tempo sem praticar português. Adriano, queria te contar para falar um pouco, né, do curso do Amit, gente. Quem quiser, posso dar minha experiência pessoal, né? Assim, eu sei que quando a gente está num processo de autoconhecimento, cada coisa que a gente faz meio que acrescenta uma pecinha, né? Assim, cada coisa que tu vai lá e faz, tu acrescenta um entendimento, uma pecinha no quebra-cabeça, vamos dizer, que é esse, né, essa bigger picture do autoconhecimento. E, para mim, o curso do Amit foi uma daquelas aquelas pecinhas que encaixam e aí dá uma reviravolta na vida, né? Assim, tipo, eu sei que é uma construção e quando a gente está preparado, tem sempre aquela pecinha que encaixa e que faz aquela grande reviravolta, assim. E eu fiz em 2014, a partir de 2015 a minha vida foi realmente muito transformada, assim, pela consciência quântica, pela forma de compreender a vida de outra maneira. Então, não é que a vida mudou, né? Não é que nada mudou, e sim meu olhar, a minha forma de ver a vida que mudou.
Eu acho que você captou exatamente o objetivo do Amit nos cursos dele, né? Que é mudar a visão de mundo, entendeu? Fazer com que a gente enxergue a realidade de uma forma, claro, que quem já está há muito tempo no caminho, como vocês, né? Já tem essa tendência, né, de enxergar a realidade não do jeito que vendem ela para a gente, mas o que o Amit faz é justamente isso, é mostrar para as pessoas, via muita informação da ciência, mas também via muita prática, como que a gente consegue enxergar a realidade tal qual ela é, vamos colocar assim, sem querer ser snob, né, dizendo que essa é a realidade, mas é uma realidade, como o Amit falou muito na live de hoje, com o coração, uma realidade expandida, né? E é esse o objetivo, por isso que a gente está lançando agora, né? Mais uma turma aí do curso online de ativismo quântico do Amit, que é totalmente em português, tá? Quem participou aqui tudo em inglês, o curso ele é em português, tá? E a gente está lançando, e hoje vocês pediram, nós atendemos, tá? Vocês que hoje, a gente tinha terminado a promoção, mas hoje a gente estendeu a promoção para esperar a live aqui com o Amit.
Então, aí, se quiser se inscrever, pode usar o link embaixo do
o link
YouTube,
aqui embaixo, né? Onde você está assistindo no YouTube, você clica no link, tem toda a informação lá. É um curso super completo. E o legal desse curso é que não é só uma série de vídeos. Tem 16 aulas, tem um monte de bônus, aquelas coisas, 16 aulas, mais 8 meditações, mas é muito mais do que isso, né? Porque o objetivo é dar o suporte para todas as pessoas que estão estudando. Então, tem uma equipe da qual eu faço parte, a Paula Batelli também, que vai tirar todas as dúvidas de todas as pessoas, vai acompanhar com webinários ao vivo, o curso é gravado, mas a gente está sempre tirando dúvida, ajudando com o grupo de estudos, ajudando com toda a compreensão da visão de mundo quântico. E tem uma coisa legal também para as pessoas se inscreverem, é que o bônus que a gente fala é o encontro presencial com a Amit, que vai ser em abril do ano que vem. Então, todo mundo que tiver, todos os alunos do curso vão poder estar em São Paulo, né? Esse encontro vai ser em São Paulo, mas vão poder estar com ele durante um dia inteiro, frente a frente, ao vivo, na imersão, conversando, tirando dúvida, meditando, tirando fotinho, fazendo selfie, autografando o livro, o que quiser, junto com o Amit Goswami. Mas claro que isso não é o objetivo principal, o objetivo é a compreensão profunda da visão de um mundo quântico e como usar isso para a gente se transformar, né? Como usar isso para a gente de verdade, para sermos pessoas, para evoluirmos como seres humanos e, consequentemente, evoluir o mundo. Daí o ativismo quântico. O ativismo quântico é mudar, se transformar para transformar o mundo. E o Murilo, né, falou, né, quando ele citou acho que foi a música lá, né? É justamente isso. A gente é de dentro que vem. Não adianta exigir lá fora toda a transformação do mundo, mas de dentro que a gente parte a transformação. E esse curso é justamente para ensinar o processo através da visão de mundo quântica. É isso, gente.
Maravilhoso. Eu só ia dizer que o Amit, ele me influenciou muito. O livro dele sobre criatividade foi uma das 5 maiores referências minhas para criar o curso de aprendizagem criativa. E eu já li outros livros dele também, e é curioso, sincrônico, que eu estava inscrito para o curso dele, que teria... Quando seria? Seria setembro agora, talvez?
Outubro, né?
Outubro. E foi adiado por causa da pandemia. E olha que louco, né? Foi adiado o curso e eu tive essa oportunidade de fazer essa live com ele. Então, eu não fiz...
Tudo é sincrônico, né?
Eu não fiz esse curso online, mas recomendo porque eu conheço muito o trabalho do Amit, do Adriano, da Alana. Então, eu acho que é um curso que vale a pena fazer. Quem estiver acompanhando aí, a gente não conseguiu ver os comentários, galera. Então, deixa só finalizar esses recados finais e a gente pode fazer alguns minutinhos aqui de troca com a galera dos comentários.
Isso.
Beleza.
Vamos fazer.
E lembrando
outra coisa
só
que eu queria falar...
desculpa.
Não, eu queria falar que, assim, quando eu fiz o curso, né, o Amit fala muito isso, assim, eu sou muito racional, igual o Adriano, tipo assim, 7 do Enneagrama super mental, né? Então, assim, eu falei, cara, não sei se eu compro essa ideia. Entendi tudo, beleza, toda a teoria quântica e tal. Eu falei, cara, não sei se eu compro essa ideia, mas o Amit, no próprio curso, ele fala assim, eu não quero que vocês comprem essa ideia, eu não quero que vocês, tipo, acreditem em mim, eu quero que vocês experimentem. E aí, foi isso que eu fiz. Eu falei, cara, vou dar uma credibilidade aí para esse Amit e vou experienciar isso na minha vida por 6 meses, né? E, tipo, fui lá e mudei essa parada do ver para crer pro crer para ver, né? E meio que fiz essa transformação na minha vida e muito menos do que o próprio... Tipo, acreditem que é feito para mim. Oi, quem tá falando?
Não, desculpa, eu pus play sem querer em você.
Menos tempo do que o prazo que eu tinha me dado, tinha rolado muita transformação, assim. Então, eu acho que é legal isso, as pessoas terem um conhecimento empírico da visão quântica, sabe? Assim, experimentar na sua própria vida para ter a experiência e não só saber a teoria, né?
Exatamente. E o Amit, vocês viram, né? É um transbordar de amor constante, né? Então, por mais que... E eu vi muita gente no comentário, vocês estavam falando aí, mas eu fiquei acompanhando aqui vários comentários, e muita gente assim, pô, não tô entendendo nada, eu quero ficar aqui. Não entendi nada no inglês, mas quero ficar aqui sentindo o que esses 3 estão... o que está acontecendo. Então, muita gente estava... E que é a proposta também, né? Que é não só a cognição mental, mas a cognição do sentimento emocional e da própria intuição, né? Isso aí a gente tem que entender que faz parte da realidade também, é tão ou mais importante do que a mental.
É isso que eu falei com o Murilo. Eu falei, Murilo, ó, vamos na frequência, né? Se a gente conseguir atingir a frequência e ficar preocupado com isso, o resto vai acontecer sozinho.
Beleza.
Maravilhoso. Galera, aqui nos comentários, ó, vamos dar uma atenção aqui nos comentários, Alana, porque eu não consegui ver.
Tá.
Mas, enfim, quem quiser comentar alguma coisa agora, é uma hora que a gente pode olhar um pedacinho aqui.
Não tem atenção da língua, ele tem que ficar lá em inglês.
Eu tá falando que, nossa, que ela já tinha pensado em juntar Amit e Gan, que eu fiz isso. Quem mais falou aqui? A Letícia Taveira estava falando que não foi o mentor dela, o Ravi Shankar, fez essa mensagem para ela, né? Tipo assim, é como se ele entregasse uma mensagem que é para a Letícia, né? Vamos dizer assim. É isso que ela estava falando.
Aquela frase do especial não é do cara da Arte de Viver?
É da Arte de Viver, mas não é dele, é uma fala do mentor espiritual dele, canalizada para a Letícia.
Eita! Massa. O nome do livro, Luciane, Criatividade para o Século XXI, sim, é um livro fantástico. Também recomendo o livro Consciência Quântica, do Amit.
Vou escrever aqui os nomes, peraí. Criatividade.
Adriana Calabrota aqui. Tem um monte de... eu achei muito legal isso que ele falou dos brasileiros.
Sim, rapaz!
É real isso. O Carlos Torres também está falando isso, assim, do quanto que o Brasil vai ser uma chave nessa... sei lá, no que quer que esteja acontecendo planetariamente.
E eu já vi várias pessoas falarem que o Brasil é um país central nesse processo de despertar do planeta. Na verdade, a América do Sul como um todo, porque também tem o Peru na história, né? Tem uma história do Lago Titicaca, do México ali, que tem um vórtice energético. A América do Sul, o hemisfério sul, na verdade, né? Acho que o hemisfério norte deu uma desgastada no bagulho ali.
Até temos na Nova Zelândia, né, uma revolução política lá, né, parece estar com uma mulher realmente líder e tomando conta também do universo político, né, do que é ser um político de verdade, entendeu? Então, é o que você falou, hemisfério sul, aí estamos, we rock. A gente chega lá, a gente nos desvirtuar umas coisas no caminho.
O Rodrigo Lucato colocou aqui uma indicação de um livro que um amigo meu, que estava aqui na live, o Luiz Fernando Lucas, também me recomendou esse livro, uma coincidência, que é Brasil, Coração do Mundo, Pátria do Evangelho, se eu não me engano, do Chico Xavier, uma canalização dele, e já tinha me indicado esse livro, um amigo meu que estava aqui também presente. Então, eu baixei no Kindle a amostra, mas não priorizei. Vou priorizar, porque tem a ver com essa história do Brasil como um centro...
E o Amit, ele fala muito isso, né? Em todas as... sempre que ele vem para cá, e uma coisa importante também, né? Ele desenvolveu, isso aqui pouca gente sabe, mas uma grande parte da teoria dele, o próprio conceito de ativismo quântico surgiu aqui, tá? Então a gente estava tomando um café no bar de um hotel, e saiu, o Amit teve um insight de uma coisa do ativismo quântico em 2007, né? E aí surgiu essa ideia de fazer um movimento, dele, até não que eu tenha participado, mas dizendo que foi aqui. E outra coisa também, quando ele fala do arquétipo de interesse, uma coisa bem específica do trabalho dele, foi com um grupo, num retiro aqui no Brasil, um grupo de retiro aqui no Brasil, onde ele teve esse insight, com um grupo, acho que eram umas 30 pessoas lá em São Roque, fazendo um retiro, e isso mostra também, né, ele fala muito, ele não cansa de falar que ele acredita de verdade que o Brasil, não só a América do Sul, mas o Brasil tem toda a capacidade do mundo de ser um líder mundial dessa transição, da transição de inclusão da emoção no processo de decisão, não só a razão, não só a matéria, mas incluir também o amor, a expansão da consciência e tudo isso. E só, desculpa falar de novo do curso aqui, muita gente está perguntando do link. O link está na descrição aqui do YouTube, tá? Se vocês olharem aqui na descrição do vídeo do YouTube, tá lá o link para você entrar no site, entender como é que funciona o curso, ver tudo que está incluído, tudo que não, né? Todas as coisas relacionadas ao curso online, lembrando que hoje termina uma promoção de R$ 1.400 de desconto. Então, R$ 1.400 a menos, tá? De desconto, termina hoje, porque a Alana e o Murilo pediram que terminava ontem, mas pela live aí a gente estendeu a promoção só até hoje, tá, pessoal? Até hoje à meia-noite.
E quando ele falou do Brasil, gente, então... ele falou do... Não, fala.
Não, eu ia falar isso, que eu acho que o Brasil é um país que ama, sabe? Assim, tudo chega aqui no Brasil, tudo que tem de novo, pá, que pega, a galera embarca, a galera, tipo... Eu acho que é por causa de alguma coisa que a gente tem também, dessa coisa, não sei, a gente tem essa coisa de abertura, né, para o novo, assim, chega qualquer pessoa, assim, falando com propriedade, uma coisa, é como se o nosso coração meio que sentisse, né, a verdade, e o brasileiro é um povo que já entra, que já embarca, né, não é muito cheio de defesas, assim, né.
E a questão do masculino e do feminino, né, eu acho que realmente eu nunca tinha pensado que é claro que existe o desequilíbrio, lógico, né? Claro que o problema da masculinidade e tal existe, mas realmente me parece que ele é menos fodido do que em outros países.
Exatamente. Quer dizer, agora tá meio a flor da pele, né? Mas acho que vai acalmar, entendeu? O macho man, né? Mas acho que vai acalmar, temos esperança.
Gente, é isso. Eu acho que não tem mais momento planetário melhor para fazer esse curso com a Amit, de verdade, porque eu acho que justamente o olhar que precisa mudar, e a partir do momento que mais e mais pessoas tiverem a consciência quântica, mais fácil vai ser o trabalho de todos nós, eu acredito. Então, clica aí no link, manda ver, porque garanto que vai fazer diferença, né? Garanto que vai transformar esse olhar, e isso vai fazer toda a diferença na maneira de enxergar tudo que acontece.
Isso aí, gente.
A Thaís falou que o Brasil é 7 no Enneagrama. Já ouviu falar sobre isso?
Assim, uma energia. Existe a energia dos países do Enneagrama. Não é quer dizer que no Brasil tem mais 7, mas
não, sim,
uma energia. Como a energia dos Estados Unidos é uma energia 3, do sucesso, do vencedor. Oi. Mamãe. Que coisa bonitinha. Tudo bom?
Eita.
Chegou aqui, tu conhece isso aqui de baixo?
Se não apertou a mãozinha.
Meu Deus.
Bonitinho.
O Brasil, que o Adriano estuda pra caralho no Enneagrama. O Brasil, ele é considerado uma energia 7 no Enneagrama.
Que é o jeitinho, né? É o somebody love, é o jeitinho. Vamos aí, vamos. É lazer acima de tudo. Então, isso é uma energia mais do tipo 7 do Enneagrama. Aí você vê, por exemplo, um Japão é mais uma energia 1 ou 6, os Estados Unidos é uma energia mais 3. Mas é uma energia, né? Não quer dizer, mais uma vez, não quer dizer que tem mais 7, mais 3. É só um. Mas dá para fazer essa brincadeira entre países. Eu acho divertido.
O Amit falou que o Brasil é um dos lugares mais prontos, assim, para o despertar, para tudo. Ele falou, não foi?
Falou, não. Ele sempre fala, que isso não falou. Todo curso ele sente isso, até porque aqui no Brasil, o Amit, ele é assim, 30 vezes mais popular do que em qualquer lugar do mundo, entendeu?
É mesmo?
Então, assim, aqui essa... ele, claro, ele é um cientista reconhecido, famoso, mas quando eu ando com ele por aqui, sabe, da pessoa vir no restaurante, pedir para tirar foto, uma pessoa conhecida meio que em vários lugares, várias pessoas, assim, é mais no Brasil isso. O Brasil é muito mais receptivo às ideias dele do que fora. Entendeu? Apesar no Japão ele também mas Brasil é o ponto forte dele, assim, onde ele consegue, onde as pessoas entendem, mas possam não entender 100% da física quântica, mas entendem a mensagem dele, sem dúvida.
Legal. Maravilha. Adriano, irmão, obrigado pela oportunidade.
Eu que agradeço.
Parabéns pelo curso, galera. Embaixo do vídeo para ver detalhes do curso. Aproveita essa condição que está só até hoje, era até ontem, e o Adriano colocou até hoje, e por isso eu e a Alana resolveu entrar como afiliado para divulgar, porque acreditamos no Amit, no trabalho que o Adriano faz como sócio aqui no Brasil dele.
Maravilha. E lembrando, pessoal...
Eu Murilo por embarcar em todas as minhas loucuras aí.
Obrigado. Foi
Inclusive
ótimo.
No perfume do amor, que a gente vai dar sequência a essa ideia.
Depois a gente pode marcar uma live com a Amit só para falar do perfume do amor. Ele vai adorar. Só para falar desse assunto aí, a gente faz. E lembrar, pessoal, que...
Também aqui, o Sem Filtro aqui no meu YouTube com o Adriano, foi esse que saiu essa semana, tá muito legal. Ele fala bastante do Enneagrama também.
Pô, a Alana me pôs em situações complicadas, né?
Tem o link para se inscrever lá também, quem recebeu a minha newsletter hoje, tá? Tem o link para se inscrever. Tem gente que não tá achando aqui na descrição do vídeo, enfim, tá na minha newsletter também. Fala,
e
Adriano.
lembrando que esse vídeo aqui, né, ele vai ser todo legendado, não essa parte que a gente está falando em português, evidentemente, mas toda a parte em inglês vai ser legendada, se tudo der certo, se corrermos bem, até sexta-feira agora, a gente vai correr para deixar tudo isso disponível, né, e para muito mais gente que não consegue entender o inglês, mas vai ter tudo legendado. Beleza, gente? Muitíssimo obrigado para vocês dois. Foi maravilhoso. Perguntas ótimas, inteligentíssimas e amorosas, como o Amit gosta. Obrigado, gente. Beijão. Valeu, Murilo. Obrigadão.
Valeu. Tchau, tchau, gente.
Vamos. Fecha.